Hello, Gothic literature lovers and horror fans. I am J.S. Larimore, aka Jax, and today in the studio I have as my guest Brad Acevedo. He is the author of the upcoming book Mirth and Malice Scenes from the Sideshow, as well as an author with Quill and Crow Publishing House, and the author of the Sir Henry lore books from the Sir Henry Haunted Attraction in Florida. So, without further ado, thank you for joining us on Ravens and Writing Desks. Hello and welcome, Brad Acevedo. Thank you for joining me today. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure thing. After I hopefully didn't scare off any cooler folks watching this, so I apologize. Anyways, hi, my name is Brad Acevedo. I am currently writing out of Gulf Coast, Florida, originally from California. And I do write specifically in horror fiction, mostly short story formats. And I've had a few publications accepted and a few different self-published short story anthologies as well, including doing some short fiction for a haunted attraction out here, like a Halloween attraction. I am part of the team that does the official lore for the attraction as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love The Mask, by the way. I'm a huge fan of clowns.
Oh,
I'm
good.
sure not everybody agrees, but I love them.
Gotcha. If I was more mobile right now, I kind of got to stay where I am. But I take the camera with me to show you my clown collection. But I'll put up some still photos later.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay. So you just got signed to Quill and Crow recently. So can you tell us a little bit about the book that they signed you for?
Yeah, sure. So the book that they signed me up is called Mirth and Malice: Scenes from the Sideshow, which is why I brought my prop with me, rather appropriate.
Perfect prop. Yep.
exactly. Because I do have another short story published with Quill and Crow for another collection of theirs. And that one's called, I have with me here, Carnival Macabre, which is based entirely around kind of the dark circus themed carnivals, clowns, anything to kind of to the dark carnival effect, which is a subgenre that I've always been really fascinated in. So Mirth and Malice is basically a collection of short stories, all themed around that aspect of varying degrees, different types of stories involving clowns, dark carnivals, circuses, any sort of basically any sort of aesthetic like that. So, if you're thinking like anything like a bucket of popcorn covered in blood being munched on by a clown holding a dagger, that's going to be kind of the vibe I'm going for.
Very cool. I love that vibe. So what is it about the dark carnival circus that just speaks to you?
Yeah, I've always wondered that. I do kind of harken back a lot with kind of my childhood. Sort of, my dad wasn't a clown per se, but he was a performer, like an entertainer. He performed for the Dare program back when, I don't know if that's still a thing, but back when it was a thing.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I know. I think it kind of faded to the wayside, but Dare was the drug abuse resistance education program. So he would basically go to different schools and teach kids about, say no to drugs and the danger of drug use and stuff. And he would do that through comedy and fun. And basically, he would have costumes that he'd bring, or he'd do like fun little magic tricks for the kids and close-up stuff like that, all interspersed with this theme of drug abuse resistance and say no to drugs, basically drug education. And then he himself was also a fan of another back when it was still a thing, the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus.
Oh yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So he used to take me to that. It was never like the big top, like the prototypical striped canvas big top. It was more the arena shows. So like the same arenas where you go to watch like a basketball or hockey game. That's where they'd perform.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it was still the same thing, And again, this was back in the 80s and 90s. So you had the clowns and you still had all the animals like the lion tamer and the elephants on parade, that sort of thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think just growing up, as I started to get more into horror, I was kind of a late bloomer with horror, believe it or not. I really didn't start getting into the horror genre until like my maybe my early teens or like my preteens. But around that age, it just kind of connected with the childhood that I had, being exposed to a lot of the circus and carnival aesthetic, essentially. And I was never afraid of clowns growing up. I always found them pretty funny and interesting. And so
Yeah.
over time, yeah, that just kind of melded its way into kind of a combination of me kind of combining a couple of my loves into one specific subgenre and enjoying the heck out of it, basically.
I love that. So you also wrote the foreword for Carnival Macabre.
Yes.
And so is that because of your love for the genre and the aesthetic that you were asked to do that?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I think so. Mainly just kind of from more of my sort of my online presence and my connections with other writers and publishers on social media. It's become kind of obvious that I have an affinity for the dark carnival aesthetic, and I do think that the publishers with Quill and Crow kind of recognized that when I submitted my story, and they thought, this is going to be kind of right up my alley, and they enjoyed my story, which I was very honored that they enjoyed my submission. And then I was invited to do the foreword, and I think they just kind of recognized that that was kind of a sort of a passion project for mine. So not only just
Yeah.
that story, but a whole bona fide collection coming up in a couple of years. So I
Yeah.
think I've kind of established my niche in the genre, and I'm fully satisfied with that if that's what happens.
Right. That's good.
Exactly.
Since you
I'm,
love
I'm
it so
okay.
much.
I'm okay if people know me as the weird clown guy or the spooky carnival writer guy. I'm okay with that if that's what it comes out to be.
Yeah. No,
No
I
complaints
would
here.
be okay with that
Yeah.
too. Um,
Good
Tell me
idea.
about some of your other projects. I've got some pictures here of Suffer the Children. What's this one about?
So,
God,
Suffer the Children. This is one of my self-published anthologies. I have a few self-published anthologies. I'll mention that. This was the main one that I actually market and pretend exists. I'll put it that way, because my previous ones, even though they are out in the world and you can find them on Amazon, I don't really advertise them because I was sort of young and more naive about how the self-publishing trade works, and I'm not happy with how they
Yeah.
turned out. So I plan to delist those eventually and maybe work them in.
Gotcha.
But aside from that, Suffer the Children is the one that I actually enjoy and the one that I think came out halfway decent. It's a trilogy of 3 horror stories, all based around 2 different connecting subgenres. One being holiday horror, and the other being something themed to around children in any aspects, whether they're featured as the protagonist or the antagonist. There's
Ooh.
always going to be children involved with these stories.
I
The
do
3
like
holiday.
a children protagonist story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some of them do have the kids as sort of a Goonies or Stand by Me vibe, but of course, with a lot of dark events occurring around them. It's themed to Easter, Christmas, and Halloween,
Oh,
and
cool.
interspersed between the stories are small little snippets, little interview segments that I conducted with actual children. With their parents' permission, of course, I connected with some kids, like around maybe 6 to 8 years old, and I asked them one question: "What are you afraid of?" And thankfully, their parents were gracious enough to allow me permission to print their answers verbatim in the book itself. So as you're reading it, you'll come across little sections where the kids have kind of a kids say the darndest things response to a question. Yeah, exactly. Like if I may, I have one right here. Is that okay if I read it real quick? Yeah, exactly. So I'd ask some kids, what are you afraid of? There was a 3-year-old boy named Patrick. He said, if I don't eat, I'll wither away, and then they'll throw me in the garbage.
Oh my gosh.
There was a 10-year-old girl who said, I'm afraid of the tall and slender monster with black skin and no face with long claw fingers. I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
well, I'm like, do you see him outside your window at night? I don't know. And then, of course, just because I wanted to be fully honest and verbatim with the responses, because they're fun and adorable, a 9-year-old girl, when I asked her that question, all she did was start humming the Baby Shark song.
Oh no.
So I wrote that in there. Hums the Baby Shark song. So
Did that creep you out?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, I don't have any kids or any children in my home, so I don't have to bear witness to the Baby Shark song that I'm sure a lot of parents have to.
Oh yes.
Exactly. But that's stuff for the children. That one's fully self-published and just three stories based around holidays and children. And that one is available on Amazon with the cover art designed by my talented wife Amanda, who also does some writing on the site as
I
well.
was gonna say I love the cover. We talked about it before, and here is. Whoop, I dropped him.
Oh no. Okay.
He rolled away. I had a doll, but Philip doesn't want to be on camera, so he rolled off in another direction. He lost his head. But I have a doll head just like that. It was on my shelf.
Nice.
So
Exactly.
I love that cover.
Who doesn't love a creepy doll, right?
I love creepy dolls. I'm a big fan.
Exactly. Good. See, I'm glad to hear that because so many people are afraid of that and clowns as well. And
Yeah.
I can never really bring it up without having to, warn people away from it. So I'm glad I can talk to you and not having to say, okay, watch out. Here comes my creepy clown mask, or here comes the book cover with the spooky doll face on it.
Nope, I love them. I think,
Nice.
and for me, clowns, I kind of get a little bit of glee out of people being so freaked out by them. I think that's a big part of why I like them is that they scare people.
Exactly,
think
because
it's
not
kind of
all of
funny.
them, a lot of them aren't intended to be like portents of fear. They're supposed to bring smiles to your face. They're supposed to make you
Yeah,
laugh. And I think it's that dichotomy that they're mainly only intentionally scary if they go out of their way to be, like Pennywise or Twisty the Clown from American Horror Story, things like that.
yeah,
But any nice, happy clown, Ronald McDonald, Bozo, ones that were designed by marketing teams for children, those are the ones that people are spooked by the most. And I find that interesting and fascinating.
yeah. It is really interesting.
Exactly.
I see a lot of people are even people with clown phobias can usually sit through a horror movie. Uh, I know a couple of people who have a clown phobia and can sit through a horror movie with a creepy clown, but they just see, like you said, a regular clown. They're like, nope,
Yep, but here
nope.
comes the McDonald's commercial. Nope, I'm switching away. That sort of thing.
Yeah, it's so odd, but so fascinating.
Exactly.
Okay, before we get to the lore books, because I want to talk to you extensively about Sir Henry's, let's
Yes.
talk about this one, What the Night Brings.
Okay. So that one is currently in flux. I've actually been working on that one for a while. It's another self-published one. And this cover right here, by the way, is a prototype. It's not finalized. So that's why
Okay.
my author tag in the upper right looks kind of sloppy and just tossed on there because it literally was tossed on there.
Right.
Yeah,
I
but this
love the
is
concept.
yeah, I like it too. That's another design from my wife Amanda, and I just kind of gave her the concept. I'm like, yeah, it's themed around a bar, so can you do something like with a cocktail glass or something with blood coming out of it? And this is what she gave me, and I'm like, okay, I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she did a
So
great job.
that one's not available anywhere yet, unless you were to hack into my word processor. So please don't do that.
Okay.
But yeah, but that one, as I said, it's still in flux. I've been kind of messing with it a little bit here and there, doing some edits. And again, I kind of like to do a gimmick with some of my self-published stuff, like with the stories with the children, the previous one, and the interviews. With this one, the gimmick is between stories are drink recipes that
Oh,
are
perfect.
completely fictional and would kill any normal human being if they tried it.
Oh, not so perfect.
Exactly. So I can't think of any offhand. I don't have a physical copy of the book, but it'll be something like, oh, to make this drink, you need like you get a mortar and pestle and ground up like 3 ounces of Gorgon scales, and then top it off with some brimstone or something similar to that. Because
That's awesome.
the whole concept is it's following the first night of a girl who's working as a bartender at a tavern, her first night on the job, and she's kind of hearing stories, doing this prototypical bartender thing, wiping the bar down, hey, what's on your mind, that sort of thing.
Right.
And her patrons are telling her the stories because it's another story anthology. But the thing is that at a certain time of night, the clientele of the bar shifts and it closes for the night and then reopens, inviting in all the creatures of the night. The monsters, the wraiths, the vampires, the gorgons, anything like that. Kind of sort of a True Blood vibe is what I was kind of
Yeah.
going for. Like if you're familiar with True Blood, they had the bar Fangtasia, which was like all vampires and monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of going for that vibe, and the stories are the different stories that the patrons are telling our protagonist as she tends to the bar and tries to keep everything nice and tidy for the proprietor on her first night of on the job.
I love that concept. That's awesome.
That is the concept, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But again, it's still in flux, and I'm thinking of getting it out there and revisited. I just got to kind of find time to go back to it after I'm done with some other projects that are in the pipeline.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Sir Henry's. Starting with lore, which one was? Let's see. I think is this one the first one?
Well, that's both of them. The first one is the one on the left, the one with the black and white cover. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I have one of them right here. This is the second one, but these are the two books that are currently available for purchase. Correct.
And then this one's coming soon.
Yes, exactly. That one is currently in progress. We're doing editing on that one as it currently stands. And as you can see, the release date there, September 2023. We're going to premiere it at the event when it opens in late September this year.
So, okay, and then that's for the Halloween event?
Exactly, yeah. So it's for an event called Sir Henry's Haunted Trail. It's in a city called Plant City out here in Florida. So if you're not familiar with Florida, the closest approximation would be halfway between Tampa, Florida, and Orlando. So it's going to be kind of in the center near the Gulf Coast.
Okay.
But for the past 10 years, they've had a Halloween event there called Sir Henry's Haunted Trail, which is a outdoor event comprising of like a courtyard with wandering characters, and then 3 haunted house attractions branching off from that, all like outdoor haunted trails.
Yeah.
And the story with that is that when we moved out here to Florida, we were looking for haunted house events. We came across Sir Henry's, and we started attending the event a few years in a row. And eventually, just through social media connections and tagging the Sir Henry's group and all our photos and videos from the events, the owner, a gentleman named Zach Glaros, he eventually caught notice of us, and he started to greet us by name when we'd go to the event.
That's very cool.
Yeah, exactly. And he portrays the character Sir Henry. Sir Henry is the mascot of the event. If you look at the cover art, you'll see like the skeleton and the top hat with the cane. That's Sir Henry, and that's who he played as a physical role. Yeah, there he is. So that's how we knew we were kind of becoming acquaintances. When he would greet us in character, he'd show up in his spiffy top hat and skull mask and everything. He's like, "Oh, it's Amanda and Brad, my favorite customers," or something like that.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Exactly. And so then that's when we knew that we kind of could have an opportunity to do a little business proposition with him. And we brought up the idea to him. We heard through the grapevine that you're looking to expand the marketing of your event. What do you think about a book based on your characters? Because each year he has a rotating set of characters that return. So instead of like having like zombie number 1 or a random guy with an axe walking around outside in the courtyard, the characters actually have established names and appearances, and some of them even have their own like small fan base out here.
Yeah.
And so we proposed to him, it's like, okay, so you went through the trouble of creating these characters. We want to know their backstories. If you give us permission and are happy to work with us, we'll create the backstories, we'll write the book, you can market them, and we'll sell them at the event. And Zach, the creator of the event, agreed with us and struck a business deal and contract with us, and that's kind of where that took off from.
That's really cool.
Exactly.
And you now work as one of the scare actors, don't you?
Correct. Yeah, I do various things with them. I do scare acting. We do live about an hour and a half away from the site, so I'm only there a few nights out of the year when we do the event. But I do get out on the trail sometimes and put on my mask and my claws and scare the heck out of people, which is fun.
That sounds
And then
so fun. I want to do that so bad.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's tiring and exhausting, but it's, when you see someone drop to the ground out of fright from you scaring them, as long as they're actually okay and they can get up and keep walking, then you'll know that you're having fun. You're having a good night. But I also do some creative work for them from afar, not just with the books, but I also do some concepts. I've written dialogue for some of the attractions they have. And then this past February, because they do different events for different times of year, not just Halloween. We also have a Christmas event and a haunted Valentine's Day.
I
which
was
is
going
pretty
to
cool.
ask you about that. Yeah.
Yes. And this past Valentine's Day was the first time that they used one of my pitches for one of the trails, which was Cupid's Revenge, which, as it sounds, is basically about Cupid getting tired of so many relationships ending, and basically him saying, "What am I doing all this work for? I'm just tired of it." And Cupid going on a whirlwind, My Bloody Valentine rampage.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
exactly, so they used that for a whole trail, which was so cool to see. But long story short, that's another aspect that I do with them, is the creative aspects of developing some trail concepts, some dialogue, in addition to scare acting and co-writing the books with my wife Amanda as well.
That's really fun. Do they plan to expand to some other holidays?
I
Because
think we're going to draw the line at 3. We've
okay,
had
we have one here that does. I don't think they do Valentine's, or they haven't advertised if they do, but they just did their first Easter event.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then they do Halloween, and I think they might do a Christmas one.
This past March, I went to a St. Patrick's Day one, not Sir Henry's, but it was another event that was all St. Patrick's Day. Not, it wasn't all killer leprechauns, but it delved more into Celtic lore, with like the Fae getting upset about us stumbling into their territory, and like the
That
hidden
sounds
people
like a
coming
lot of
up.
fun.
It was really fun. And brief tangent, but I opted in for the full experience, which means I gave them permission with a special marker to have full contact with me. So I was getting shoved around and caressed and scratched and stuff.
Oh, you're brave.
But aside from that, yeah, I know other events do different holiday events as well. But Sir Henry's is, we've ran it through with Zach, and he's convinced. He's like, it's just me and this small team. We don't want to wear ourselves out.
Yeah.
September through February is Sir Henry's season. It goes Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's, and then after that, we go into hibernation from March until August, and then it starts back up again.
That's probably for the best because he's got to build sets, and I'm sure that there's a lot that goes into that.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of work they do, and this year they're introducing a haunted hayride for the first time, so they're getting the logistics set up with that, in addition to all the other trails that they're working on, all sorts of stuff going on. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of hard work, and there's got to be some downtime for the crew to recuperate and rest up.
Yeah. And the one I just went to the Renaissance Festival back in May, and that place does the Renaissance Festival in the summer, and then they have a fireworks stand in July, and then
That's cool.
they have a Christmas Wonderland, and then they have a haunted attraction, which has like 10 attractions plus the village.
Yeah.
And a hayride is one of the attractions. So
wait, is this by I'm sorry, I don't want to like specify exactly where you might be, but is this like in the
I'm
Northeast?
in Oklahoma, so it's fine. It's in Muskogee, which is far away from me, but
okay.
It's called the Castle of Muskogee.
Okay, not the one I was thinking of. There's one in like New York near Hudson Valley that I was thinking of, that does that whole thing with like 10 different attractions all dovetailing into one another. But that's what I was thinking of. But it doesn't sound like
no, this one's in Oklahoma. They don't like connect to each other.
Yeah.
But it's like they connect to the village, and there's like a campfire, and they do ghost stories at the campfire and hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And then they have some that are family friendly. They start at like 1 skull scary, and then they go up to like 10 skulls scary. Right. So you can just choose the level of experience you want.
I'll take the 12 skull one, please.
All right. So tell me about, you said you went to an event. Tell me about some of your other exploration stuff. You do a lot.
Which one specifically? Are you thinking about a particular one?
You share all your videos from Universal, or just these odd little places you find randomly. Just how did you get into doing that? What's some cool places you visited?
Well, back when I was living in California, I never really had much of an opportunity to travel too much. It was basically, I lived in San Diego, so it was basically either go up to LA, or that was really about it. And cost of living in California was pretty brutal, so I didn't have much expendable income, unfortunately. Since I came out here to Florida, things changed a little bit more, since there's a bit more that's a bit more accessible, easier to drive to, and the cost of living is a little lower. So we have a little bit more options to explore a bit. So I basically every weekend, on at least one day, Saturday often. We'll get in the car. We have like a full checklist of stuff that we want to see. We always check like different websites for different places to explore and to look at. And then once we'll pick someplace from the list and we'll venture out there. As long as it's within like a 2-hour radius of ours, we'll make a day trip out of it. As you mentioned, we used to go to the theme parks a lot. I say used to because we used to have annual passes to Walt Disney World and Universal Studios, which we no longer have. So we don't go as often as we used to. But we'll check out any sort of interesting locations we could find, nature-based places like different wildlife preserves. We'll go out there and hike and look at, try to find, animals or beautiful scenic vistas like rivers and meadows and things like that. Yeah. I'm personally really into geocaching, so I'll do that a lot, which is a whole other thing. I don't want to get too far into that and take up a lot of time.
I know a little bit about it. Just
exactly.
Google it for anybody watching that doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, Google geocaching. Look up the app. That'll give you all the explanations. Yeah, we go to conventions a lot. I just got back from one called Spookala, a horror convention this past weekend. And then just a month and a half ago, what month is this? It's June. Yeah, June. In May, I started my YouTube channel, Oddball Explorations. Because we were going out and traveling and seeing so much, and basically I would just post a video on Twitter or Facebook and it would fade out of existence and get eaten by the algorithm eventually. So I'm like, let's try my hand at this YouTube thing and see how it's going. So I started editing videos of like our different travels to the different conventions, or going out and trying to find some interesting shops and restaurants around the area, basically places that are a little under the radar that I think are interesting and kind of deserve more exposure. More people need to know about it and check it out, because there's just a really lot of interesting places out here and all over the world, and you just got to get out there and look for it, and you never know what you might find out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That fairy garden place that you went to, I would like to hear more about it, but it just looks so cool and so odd and like something you just would come across randomly. But
exactly. I'm trying to think of the town, which is awful that I can't think of it off of the top of my head, because it's kind of infamous out here in Florida. It's considered the psychic and spiritual capital of the world. So that's what the city's known for. And again, the name of it's just escaping my head right now. Damn, I hate that.
I know what you're talking about, only because there was an episode based on that town on Supernatural.
I want to say Casa Vega.
I think that sounds right.
But yeah, that's where the fairy garden was. Yeah, that's where the fairy garden was, and it was really neat. They also had the urban legend there. That's another thing I like to do, is go legend tripping, which is kind of like exploring areas with different urban legends. And the one there was called the Devil's Chair, which was a cemetery that has kind of like a stone brick, like easy chair. In the shape of like a recliner sort of, but no, obviously it doesn't recline. But the story is that if you sit in that chair at midnight and you wait, then as long as you're sitting in that chair, the devil will appear and he'll speak to you, and you can make a deal with him, kind of like meet me at the crossroads.
I think I've heard about that. Yeah. Exactly. Did you do it at midnight?
No, we didn't want to trespass. I think they put security out there now because it's popular with kids and teenagers testing it out. Yeah, we went there during the daylight though, and we found half-melted candles and a Ouija board set up on the chair.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, I don't really mess around with Ouija boards, because I am a believer when it comes to a lot of spirituality and spirits and demons and ghosts and things like that. And I see a Ouija board, I'm like, I'm not touching that. If I touch it, I'm going to open up some kind of doorway and I'm going to regret it. So I observed it from afar, all its splendor. Yeah.
I actually have one, but I almost never use it. I haven't used it in a really long time. And I have people that come over to hang out and they're like, let's play with it. And I'm like, no, because they can already tell that you could, like, let's play with it. That's not a good mindset to be playing with stuff like that. No, we're not going to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I do believe that they can conjure up something with those, and it's not anything that I want to mess
Yeah.
with, especially if you don't know what you're doing. So as soon as I saw that sitting in the devil's chair, I was like, all right, I'm gonna stand back here in broad daylight, take a few pictures, and then I'm gonna turn around and walk away.
I don't blame you. So how's the YouTube channel going?
Not too bad, not too bad. I have a friend out here who's a who just recently hit 75,000. I think his name's Tampa J. If anybody out there's familiar with him, he's a buddy of mine, and he's been kind of giving me pointers and walking me through since I have a baby channel that's just getting started, and I think today I hit 160 subscribers, which I'm
Wow.
satisfied with so far. Yeah, and people seem to be enjoying what I'm putting out there, and I don't know how I'm coming across on this, but I do have a lot of a bit of social anxiety and not good like in front of cameras or anything like that. So doing stuff like this and the YouTube channel itself are like kind of therapeutic for me to put myself out there, get out of my shell a little
Right.
bit. Exactly. And then we'll go back, we'll watch the videos on like the YouTube app on our TV to make sure it looks good before I post it. And my wife's sitting there enjoying it, and I'm sitting there seeing myself on camera talking. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I don't watch back my own
it's like
videos. Like,
I asked
when
her,
I'm
like, can you
editing,
fast
and
forward
that's
the
it.
parts
And
with
I'm
me
like,
in it?
yeah, I watch them
And
while I'm editing, and that's it. I'm like, all right, that's good. Oh, I'm gonna post it now.
exactly. I'm like, can we
Never
fast
see it
forward the
again.
parts? Yeah, exactly. But it's fun to do. I'm enjoying it. It was a bit of a learning curve, but I think I'm starting to kind of get the hang of it. And I'm enjoying editing things together and playing around with like different music and sound effects and the iMovie software, and then seeing how not only friends of mine but perfect complete strangers who stumble across it through the YouTube algorithm, how they react to it as well, and what they
Right.
think about these different places that I'm filming and putting out on camera. So that's a fun aspect as well, is just kind of showing off some of the places that I've been to and hopefully getting a lot of exposure for some smaller businesses. If my channel
Yeah.
happens to grow and pick up, that's what I mainly want to do. Not so much for me to go, hey, look at me, I've got 100,000 subscribers. Like, that's not what I'm in
Right.
it for. I want to get more eyes on small businesses, weird little shops, different restaurants, nature preserves that you might not be familiar with, things like that, off the hustle and bustle. That's kind of what I'm looking to
Yeah.
do with my channel. Exactly.
I think that's a very honorable goal. Small businesses need people to keep them alive, and otherwise, all we're going to have is giant corporations to go shop at and eat at, and
Yeah, exactly. I
nothing
mean, I mean,
cool
like,
and
because I even put out a
creative.
poll recently, or like a couple weeks ago, saying, that's what I want to do with my channel. I don't really want to do much filming at theme parks or things like that because it's so saturated. There's so many channels devoted. Everybody knows about it. Um,
Yeah.
it turns out, according to my poll, that people still want to see that regardless. So I might do a little bit of that, but it's not going to be my main focus. Oddball explorations is going to be exactly that: explorations and sightseeing of places that are a little off the beaten path, places that are interesting and kind of unusual, or just places that you wouldn't normally think of. Hey, let's go to Florida. Let's go to Disney World. And I say, no, let's go
Yeah.
to Florida. Let's go to this store called Cultosaurus, which is in a building with a giant Mars attack mural on the side. Let's go there instead and check out all the
I want to go to
cool.
there.
Yeah. Oh,
That
full
sounds
disclosure, they moved out of that building, which sucks, but the place is
awesome.
still really cool, and I have it on one of my videos. It's like, yeah, come to Cultosaurus. You'll find all these weird little sculptures. You'll see SpongeBob SquarePants dressed as Gene Simmons. You'll see characters from Futurama that have scratch and sniff things on them, all sorts of weird stuff like that.
That's so awesome. What
Exactly.
is your favorite place that you've been to or just come across randomly?
There's a
Do you have
lot
a
of there's a lot of places. I like oddity shops a lot. So if an oddity shop is going to be like one of these shops that has specializes like in taxidermy or just some
yeah,
weird ephemera, yeah, like old black and white photos from some unknown person's photo album, historic medical tools, stuff like
yeah,
that. Exactly. And there's quite a few of those out here. There's one in Tampa called Dysfunctional Grace, which is pretty neat. And they have this whole section. which is comprised of salvaged carnival equipment. So there you go,
That's
back to the
so
clown aesthetic.
cool.
Exactly. So I get in there and I see like they have this old like skee ball machine from the 1930s with a clown head on it that you're supposed to throw the balls into. I'm like, oh, if I had $5,000 and the extra room in my place, I'd be coming home with me.
Right?
I also
That is
I also
so
live
cool.
near. This is actually a very good place to be if you're into the dark circus aesthetic like I am, because I'm sandwiched between two cities, one called Gibsonton and one called Sarasota,
Hmm.
both of which have heavy ties to the circus industry. Sarasota is where John Ringling had his estate set up, and he has a whole museum dedicated there. And
Oh, cool.
Gibsonton was once known as kind of the freak show capital, where the sideshow performers would go to spend their winters when they were off season, and they would set up shop there. So that well's kind of dried up a bit. You know, you can't drive down the street and see the 10-foot man walking his dog anymore or anything like that.
Right.
But they still have a whole aspect of circus culture. They have a museum. They have a bar called the Showman's Tavern, and the book that I have coming out with Quill and Crow, Mirth and Malice, is actually based entirely around a fictional town. All the stories take place around this one specific town that is based directly on Gibsonton, Florida.
Oh, that's awesome.
So everything comes full circle. You ask me, you know, where are these interesting, odd places that you like to explore out in Florida? And I say, yeah, Gibsonton, the old circus town, is really cool. Not only because it's an interesting place that I'd recommend you check out if you're ever on the Gulf Coast of Florida, but also because it directly inspired a lot of the work that I did with the book that I'll be developing with Quill and Crow.
That's so cool. So there you go, guys. When his book comes out, if you pick it up, then you have a map to a great road trip location. Lots of clowns. That mask is awesome.
I got a few more, but they're hanging over there, and I don't want to get up and disturb the flow here to go grab them or nothing. So.
Right. So what are some of your bucket list places?
International travel for sure. I've been pretty much America based throughout my whole life. With the furthest I've been would be in Mexico, either traveling to Tijuana from San Diego, or I've been on a couple of Caribbean cruises out of Florida, going to Mazatlan or the Cayman Islands, things like that, which are all
Yeah.
beautiful places to visit, and I greatly enjoyed them. But I want to go properly overseas someday. So, you know, I want to go to Japan. I want to go to France, to England, to Ireland, to Italy. You know, I want to see these abandoned castles that they have set up in
Oh,
Ireland.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go to Japan and check out the Aokigahara suicide forest, all sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
Those are all my bucket lists. Ones that I don't know if I'll ever get to achieve, but that's, you know, why they call it the bucket list. I want to hit them up before
Right.
I croak one day. So, you know, here's hoping that I can take my travels international one day.
Maybe you can keep
Maybe.
building that YouTube channel. I know you
Mhm.
said you wanted to see the Clown Motel.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So that one's a bit of a sore spot for me, and of course I do. Of course, I have a story based on that in the new book coming out, because how could I not?
Of course.
But I say it's a bit of a sore spot because I lived in California for 30 years, which is about maybe a 4-hour drive from Tonopah, Nevada. Let me double back. I lived in California for about 30 years. I didn't always live in San Diego. I used to live up further north near Sacramento, which is a little bit closer to the Las Vegas area, a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was about maybe not necessarily a day trip, but maybe a 6-7 hour drive away from Tonopah, where the Clown Motel is located. So I could have much more realistically have visited it when I was back in California than I can now on the other side of the country. So that's a bit of
Yeah.
me kicking myself a bit, thinking, you know, I never went to check it out when I had the opportunity. It's like, you know, you're going to drive all that way out of the way just to visit a kind of a rinky-dink motel that has a creepy clown aesthetic. I'm like, heck yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But also,
Well,
yeah, but
now,
also
right?
and also they got Area 51 not too far away. They've got the Tonopah Pioneer Cemetery right next to the motel. Vegas itself isn't too far. Make a day trip out of it. I never
Yeah.
took the advantage to do that. But again,
I
bucket
lived
list,
really close to there too, but I was a kid when I left, so
Yeah.
it's not like I could take myself there, but I lived uh, maybe 4 hours from the Nevada line, from
Okay.
Laughlin, right? Yeah, about 4 hours from the Hoover Dam, so in
Okay.
Arizona. But I
Got
was 13 when we moved to Oklahoma, so I couldn't be like, all right, I'm gonna jump in the car and go see the clown museum and go to Vegas and
Exactly. But that's okay. That's why, life takes us in a lot of different directions. And, sometimes it's okay to double back and go back the way you came to see, anything that you missed along the way and, pick up those experiences that you missed in the first time.
exactly. And I will make it out there someday. That's
Yes,
definitely on my list of places I want to see.
absolutely.
So you're a big horror movie fan, and I know you've seen everyone from the mainstream to some movies people probably never heard of. So what's some of your favorites?
Favorite horror movies? Well, top tier. My first horror film, which still stands out as my favorite, is Poltergeist.
That's
The
a
old
great movie.
Exactly. Yeah, the original one, directed by Toby Hooper, produced by Steven Spielberg from '82. That one will always stand out as my favorite. Even over time, it's not the most intense horror film anymore. To me, it's still perfect, and I love it. So
That's
that's definitely
yeah.
one of my favorites. I like lots of others. I like uh I like body horror movies, which is an interesting subgenre, just because I find anatomy to be an interesting concept, and the corruption
Yeah.
of that is something that fascinates me too. So, if,
I like I like body horror because I'm into like gore movies, but sometimes they do get to be a bit gross.
true, exactly, they
Yeah.
do. I'm thinking of like the Cronenberg version of The Fly, which is another top tier one for me. And that one is,
Yeah.
of course, it's utterly disgusting, absolutely, but it's also like kind of like a darkly beautiful movie in its way, with the tragic musical score, the makeup effects, Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis's performances. It
Yeah.
just all comes together so well.
I do love
Um,
that movie. It's so good, but it's
it's a
so
great.
gross.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely. And the thing, John Carpenter's A Thing, same story, really disgusting. I don't like seeing the scenes with the dog getting hurt, but aside from that, I'm like, I can't believe that back in the '80s they did these amazing effects that still hold up today, and in some
Yeah.
cases eclipse modern day CGI effects like
Oh,
that.
for sure. I am definitely team practical effects. I mean, of
Absolutely.
course, I love doing makeup and building my own prosthetics, and so
Yeah,
yeah,
yours are
I'm
amazing.
all
I love yours because you've seen some of my stuff online, was like some of my makeup effects. With me, it's complete amateur hour with mine. I can't even use a sponge applicator properly. So like when I do like my makeup effects, I'll just smear some grease paint on my hands and go like that, dribble some
hey, it
fake
works.
butter, see where it goes. And then you look
It
at your
works.
stuff and you've got full body prosthetics coming out of your face. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's some Tom Savini, Robotin stuff right there that I can't
Thank you.
to achieve. Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, to anybody watching this, if you haven't seen Jax's makeup effects, you got to check it out. And, you'll be amazed at how awesome it looks. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I have videos of my makeup on TikTok, so at
There you go.
Jax the Tiny Raptor.
Jax the Tiny Raptor. Go
Okay.
follow. Check it out.
Yes, thank you. I have this little game we can play called Haunted or Hoax. If you
Hmm.
watch the show, you know I like to do some kind of game at the end.
Okay.
And since you like to travel and check out crazy places, we're going to do Haunted or Hoax.
Let's try
So
it.
I will name the place and a little backstory, and then you tell me if it's an actual place or if I made it up.
All right. Let's give it a try.
Not
But I'm
not if
embarrassed
it's really
myself this
haunted or not. We're just going to assume they all are really haunted or they don't
Okay.
exist.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. The first one is the Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia. It was featured in the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and holds the grave of Great C. Watson. It's reports of smiling statues, crying babies, and other inexplicable sounds.
So am I determining? Remind me. Am I determining if the place actually exists or if it's actually haunted or not?
Yeah. If it's if it's a real place
Okay.
in the United States, or if I made it up.
It sounds real. I mean, it sounds familiar. I know there's a lot of tropes involved, like with the statues and the crying babies and whatnot, but the name kind of rings a bell. I'm not sure.
So, what do you say, haunted or hoax?
I'm gonna say haunted.
Correct. It's a
Yeah.
real one.
Okay. I was all prepared to say, well, I'm off to a great start if I got that one wrong, but I'm glad that's not the case.
Okay, the Dolphin Hotel, said to have a room so haunted the hotel won't even book it for guests.
Does it say where it's? Do we know where it's located? Do we have a city or anything, or just the name?
Don't have a city.
I don't know. I'm gonna say hoax on that one. The only one that's coming to mind is the Dolphin Hotel in Walt Disney World, which I don't think is haunted.
Yeah, you're right. It's a hoax. This
Okay, cool.
is from the movie 1408.
Oh, okay.
That's the
That
name of
makes
the
sense.
hotel he stays in.
Yeah, okay. I don't remember that. I didn't remember the name of the hotel specifically from that movie, but I get it now. Okay.
It's such an awesome movie.
It is underrated. Underrated.
Very underrated, yeah. I think John Cusack in general is underrated.
Yes, agreed.
Cahaba, Alabama, the first capital and infamous ghost town. Popular setting of ghost tours and stories of the paranormal.
Cahaba.
Cahaba,
How do you spell that?
Cahawba.
Can you use it in a sentence, please? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Cahaba. That's going to be a toss-up for me because I don't recognize the name one way or the other. Yeah, coin flip. I'm going to say haunted.
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't know it existed either, but apparently it was the first capital, and then it was abandoned after the Civil War.
Doesn't ring a bell. Yeah. Okay. I chalked that one up to luck though, because again, I didn't know, and I didn't recognize it in any sort of fiction either. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know either. Okay, the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, said to be haunted by at least 8 ghosts, including a 5-year-old girl and a bearded man in Victorian dress.
Crescent Hotel. I'm gonna go haunted on that one.
Correct.
Okay.
The weird thing about this is, at one point, a man bought it and pretended to be a doctor, even though he didn't have never been to medical school, and so he turned it into a hotel and was doing like all these weird procedures on people until he was ran out of town.
Well, that's just a recipe for disaster right there.
Yeah.
That's like in a how to get it, like a grimoire book, and turn to the page how to create a haunted hotel. There you go, right there.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yep.
The Yankee Peddler Inn. Just says it's known for paranormal activity. And
well, shoot. Yeah, a lot of these places I don't know them offhand. So that one, it's, I don't know, just based on the name and being so generic, I'm gonna say hoax.
It does exist.
Damn. There goes my
I know. I thought it was fake too at first until I researched it, but it was from the movie The Innkeepers. And apparently,
okay. The Ty West movie. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was based on the actual paranormal activity in the building.
Oh, so the movie was based on the actual hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. I was thinking there'd be more meat on the bone if it was real. It's like paranormal activity. It's okay. What kind? Is it a lady in white walking around looking for her severed head, or what's the story? Give me more details.
Yeah, it didn't give me any ghosts at all.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The Clovervale Mansion, an abandoned estate in Washington, said to be haunted by the original owner.
Washington State or DC? Does it say? State. Okay, state. Cloverville. I'll go haunted on that one. Again, it's another one I'm not too familiar with.
That's not real.
Darn, I was doing so good too.
You were. I made that one up.
Oh, you made that up? Okay, I was going to say, what's that from? Okay.
Right. Nothing. I got it from a name generator.
Cloverville. See, now I got to use that in the story. Clover
There you
Haunted
go.
Hill Mansion. All credit to Jax.
Thank you. Dock Street Theater, Charleston. One of the oldest theaters in America. One of the ghosts is Nettie Dickerson, who was struck by lightning on the balcony.
I'm going to go haunted with that one.
That is correct. It was a theater, and then it burnt down, and then they built a hotel, and then they renovated it back into a theater.
Okay.
And she died in it when it was a hotel.
Charleston has a lot of haunted history, so I was thinking if there's any place that's going to have a haunted building, it's got it. Charleston's going to be like towards the top of the pile for sure.
Yeah, it seems like all of the Old South is just haunted.
Oh, yeah.
Like the whole place, everywhere down there.
Yep, one big giant field of ghosts basically out here. Yeah.
Yes. Castle Hill, the site of the ruins of a witch house in Massachusetts, said to still be used by practitioners of the dark arts.
That sounds hoax.
It is a hoax. Good
Okay.
job.
Okay. Yeah. That one just offhand sounded like I hear Castle Hill. I'm like, wait, Stephen King? No, that's Castle Rock. And then I hear, it's in Massachusetts. Okay, where's the witchcraft connection? There it is. Okay, it's got it.
Yeah. Hotel Vista Flagstaff haunted by several past ghosts.
Haunted?
Hoax.
Darn. Okay. I wanted to get the Arizona one right for you. I apologize.
That's okay. There is one. It's a different name, but there is a haunted one in Flagstaff.
Okay.
Pine Barrens, New Jersey. Spans 1 million acres of abandoned sawmills, paper mills, and surrounding villages, and said to be the home of the Jersey Devil.
Haunted.
Definitely. Yep.
I know all about the Pine Barrens. See me doing my little happy dance. I was like, Jersey Devil, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're all about the cryptids.
That's right. As soon as I hear Pine Barrens, I'm like, haunted, 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 haunted.
Well, you did pretty good. Okay, so we're almost at our mark. So here's your chance to plug your books, your socials, whatever you want. The floor is yours, so take it away.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if you want to check out any of my current books, my self-published works, as well as the stories that I've had published, featured in Quill and Crow, as well as I also brought this. This is Krampus Tales. This was contains my very first publicly, professionally accepted short story. Like the first that I sold as opposed to self-published. Yeah. You can find anything like that on Amazon. You just go to Amazon and type in my name, Brad Acevedo. You'll see my mug there wearing my face mask and looking all creepy. Yeah, go to Amazon.com. Just type in my name. You'll find all my stuff there as well. I'm not going to plug my actual author website because I haven't updated it in a while and it's in shambles. So we're going to forget about that for now. Exactly. I need to go back to it. But
is it even an author website if it's not in shambles?
That's a good point. Exactly. Yeah, I need to go back and do some work on it. But Amazon, of course, type in my name. You'll find all my self-published stuff as well as the books from Quill and Crow and other publications that my short stories are featured in. You can go to sirhenryshauntedtrail.com for all information about the event itself. And there's a full page on there dedicated to the books themselves. So you can see the books that my wife and I co-wrote for them, as well as the third one that we have in the pipeline as well. Social media pages, you can follow me on Twitter at the @ for Twitter is wolfsoul4. Don't ask me what it means. I was in high school. I don't even remember why I picked that name. But that's wolfsoul4, WOLFSOUL number 4. I am on Instagram at Infinite Oddball. So the word infinite, like INFINITE, and then the word oddball. And then that ties back into my YouTube channel, Oddball Explorations, which is basically exactly how it sounds. Exactly. So those are my different endeavors that I have going on. My YouTube channel, spreading all sorts of nonsense on my social media pages. The Sir Henry's books, as well as my self-published novels and the stories that I have with Quill and Crow. And of course, once Mirth and Malice, the new one from Quill and Crow, comes out, not for a while, not till 2025, I was quoted. So that's going to be a little ways down the road. But when that does come out, you'll see that I won't be able to shut up about it online. So you'll see plenty of that as well.
And you know the drill, guys. All of this will be linked in the description below, as well as information on my sponsors, Quill and Crow, which you can find at quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com. You can find their merch at thecrowshop.com. That's shop, SHOPPE. You can find them on Instagram and TikTok at Quill and Crow Publishing House, and on Twitter at Quill and Crow Publishing. You can find me on Twitter at Jax_2_0, Instagram at JS Larimore, and on TikTok at Jax the Tiny Raptor, or on my website at jslarimore.com. So, Brad, thank you for joining me. I had a great time, and
Thank you
all
so much.
of the things you do are fascinating. I can't wait to read your books.
Yep, and plenty more to come, but thank you for this opportunity. I greatly enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you here. And to everybody out there listening, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thank you for joining us on Ravens and Writing Discs.